Welcome back to another video. Today I'm over at South Stack and Anglesey. I'm going to spend some time with the birds and have a look along the coast for some of its wildflowers. It's a typical mid-May day here in North Wales. It was meant to be sunshine and not a breath of wind. How wrong could it be? It's been drizzling, it's freezing cold, the woolly hat's back out. I thought I'd put it away for winter. It's cloudy, it's breezy, but who cares when you've got views like this and the sights, sounds and smells that go with thousands upon thousands of seabirds on the cliff here. We'll talk about those birds in a moment, but if you do come to South Stack, inevitably you come to this vantage point and most people just look at the birds and don't really pay attention to what's literally under their feet. There's a plant on this cliff edge here called the South Stack Fleawort. This is an incredibly rare plant endemic to this part of the world, and it looks like ragwort. Most people would walk past it going, the flowers in that ragwort look a bit big, but it's field fleawort, and this is a specific maritime subspecies that you only find in this part of the world. It is glorious and always looks good. I never really see it nibbled by anything, so I'm not sure whether the slugs don't bother with it or whether it's just left on to its own devices, but always looks absolutely fantastic. So if you do come here, make sure you look around underneath your feet. Don't go over the cliff edge, but along the cliff edge, have a look for South Stack Fleawort. It's a plant you're not going to find anywhere else, so make the most of it. But let's turn our attention now to the birds on the cliffs. I've had a fabulous hour filming the guillemot and the razorbill. They're the main two seabirds that we get on the cliffs here. And the main difference between guillemot and razorbill have a very thick, sharp bill. They're razorbill, and they are black and white, jet black and white. Guillemot are a little bit more elegant, especially in the bill. It's a much finer dagger-like bill, and they are a deep chocolate brown and white. They look black and white, but it's actually a deep chocolatey brown, and they're in their thousands on these cliff faces. In fact, in the distance, cliff there is absolutely strewn with guillemot. There's barely any more room for any birds to land. So if you're a guillemot or a razorbill, you've got to like your neighbours, otherwise it's going to be a long breeding season where you're all crammed in like this. But they're not the only seabirds that are around. There's some distant fulmar, there's some flying around really close, but I can't get any footage of them. They're too quick for me. And in the distance there's some fulmar. They look like gulls. They're not gulls. They're more closely related to the albatross family than the gull family. We do have a couple of species of gull knocking about. Remember, there is no such thing as a seagull. There are various species of gull. Herring gull being the commonest one along here. There's lots of nesting birds down on the cliff who, as soon as they get young, they'll be trying to snatch up eggs of guillemot, razorbill, even their chicks as well. They're looking for an easy meal, and there'll be plenty of easy meals around here in another month or so. There's also some black-legged kittiwake, but their international name's black-legged kittiwake, and actually looking down on a pair of birds down here, you can just about see their black legs in the water. There's an adult and an immature bird, so they're probably born last year and not reached sexual maturity yet, so they're just loafing around. Very elegant birds. When they fly, their wingtips look like they've been dipped in ink. They're very beautiful. There's a couple of gannets been flying past as well in the distance, but they're not coming very close into shore. They're just flying past. They don't breed anywhere near here, gannets, so they can do big journeys to go fishing. So there's these cliffs, just absolutely fabulous. The sight and the sound, it's one of the best spectacles we have in North Wales. At this time of the year, when all the seabirds are in, it's glorious. And the cliff faces as well, they are strewn with colour. There's lots of pinks and blues and yellows and whites going on. And I'm going to explore more of those plants on my little walk I'm going to do. I'm not going to go far today, just a bit down the coast. Sadly though, no puffins. Usually see puffins here, but at this time of the year, they can be awkward because you'll have birds that are in the burrow incubating the eggs, and other bird will be out at sea fishing, and it can be quite a while between seeing the birds come back. I often see them down on the water, but I've looked through all the birds, and despite many thousands of razorbill and guillemot, can't see a puffin amongst them. So knowing my luck, I'll start walking off and a puffin will appear, but I've had a fabulous start to my morning, despite it being bitterly cold. I'm going to have to put my gloves on, I think. But yeah, let's go and have a look along the cliff and see what other wildlife we can find. What a difference 30 minutes makes. I was packing up from the birds and kind of decided to come and have a look for some plants along this path. And as I did, the clouds have broken, it's glorious blue skies, and the wind's dropped as well, which is absolutely what I need for filming plants. And one of the things I like about this coastal path, and I have done for years, is obviously you've got beautiful views on one side, but on the other, because the path's sunken down, you've got plants pretty much at eyeball level. So it's a fabulous place to come and encounter some species, including getting quite close to some species which are usually quite obscure. There's a grass here called early hair grass, and normally I don't really notice it as often as I should, purely because it's quite small and unassuming. But here at eyeball level with these lovely red stems, it's a glorious grass. We don't often spend enough time highlighting grasses because they are wonderful things, but they're just not as flamboyant as some of the flowers around here. There's the last of the spring squill. Many of the spring squill is going over now, and a couple of them have got an interesting fungal infection on their leaf. But as that blue fades away from the spring squill, it is quickly replaced by sheep's bit, which is just the most wonderful, bright, vibrant blue flower. It almost looks like it shouldn't be here. It looks too tropical almost to be in Wales. And it is absolutely glorious. Kind of lovely, spiky, the stamens and things like that sticking out. It's just wonderful. And the whole coast along here is just full of colour. Yellow from things like the bird's foot trefoil, blue from the sheep's bit. There's Thrift and sea campion, which we'll go and have a look at later, bringing pinks and whites. It's just, this area is just great for all the senses. The sights, the sounds, the smells. It's wonderful. So let's carry on walking and see what else we can find. Whenever I'm on these sea cliffs, I always forget about Blackthorn because I always walk past it, and it takes me a while to realise it's Blackthorn, because normally when I see it at home, they're big hedgerow kind of plants. Here, very stunted, get absolutely battered by the elements, get all the wind coming, so they stay really, really quite small. On top of that, they're being annihilated by a moth, the orchard ermine. The caterpillars are in what look like spider's web all over the Blackthorn. And inside the web, lots and lots and lots of the caterpillars, gregarious, and lots of poo around as well. So the feeding signs are very, very obvious. There are some blackthorn that I've passed where they have absolutely annihilated it. If you don't want to be a blackthorn along this stretch of the coast, it's a very, very hard life. And for the caterpillars, they're not as flamboyant as some of the caterpillars, certainly some of the ones we've seen on recent videos, like the scarlet tiger moth. But they're still quite cute to watch them munching away on the leaves. And they're just fascinating how you don't immediately go to thinking this was a spider's web rather than something from a caterpillar. But the ermine moths, they can decimate all sorts of plants. They're usually quite host specific. The adult moths can be a bit of a pain to identify when we get them in the moth trap because they all look quite similar. But the caterpillars, some of them like apple, some of them like hawthorn and blackthorn, some of them like spindle. So it's a bit more straightforward identifying the caterpillars when you see them. So yeah, as you walk along here, keep an eye out for orchard ermine caterpillars. Two of the most dominant plants along this part of the coast are Thrift, which is spectacular at this time of the year with its lovely pink flowers cascading all over the cliff face, big bushy mounds of wonderful leaves, inviting to sit on, looks fantastic. And the other plant that is really quite dominant is sea campion. And sea campion has delightful white flowers, which when they're at their best are stunning, but they often go over very, very quickly and start kind of curling in on themselves. And at that point, they look a bit scratty. And they form these kind of lovely round mounds with these delightful almost glaucous coloured leaves. And they have these kind of almost bladder-like growths behind where the seed's going to develop behind the flower. They're really quite fascinating. We covered red campion 2 videos ago, and just like red campion, which gets a sexually transmitted disease, sea campion, one of its brothers, also gets a sexually transmitted disease on its anthers. The little cocoa powder in the centre of the flower, that is a sexually transmitted fungal infection called sea campion smut, and that's going to inhibit it from producing seed. So no matter where you go with plants, especially the Campion family, there's always sexually transmitted infections that follow them around. On that note, I think I'll leave it here for this one. I've really enjoyed it. The sun's come out now. It's absolutely glorious. And there's so much to see, even from a short stroll from the car park. There's plenty of flowers, there's plenty of insects, and obviously there's thousands and thousands of birds. So why don't you come and have a look for yourself? If you do, let me know what you see. And if you've enjoyed this, you can like and subscribe. It'll help the channel out. And I shall see you on the next one. Bye for now.